Okay.
All right. So, hello. Welcome to another week of our Edge Q&A podcast. I'm William Swanson. I'm the chief architect here at Edge, and this is RJ.
Hey, I'm the QA and support person at Edge. Hello.
Hi. So, what are we going to talk about this week?
Yeah, so first thing we want to talk about, just a quick announcement. We've just released 1.2.4, so that'll have sweet private keys for the other tokens like Dash, Litecoin. And we also added BIP70 support, so many of you were asking for that. You guys will be happy with that.
What's BIP70 support, RJ?
Yeah, so that's what BitPay uses for most of their merchants and stores, where when you're trying to purchase an item in a store, say from Overstock.com, it locks you in at a certain price, and it also allows you to send Bitcoin and sends it to the direct address to them. Or
So I actually know what BIP70 is. I was just asking that for.
okay.
No, normally in Bitcoin, when you go to pay somebody, they give you an address and a QR code. So it's a string of letters and digits that you can write down, copy on a piece of paper, whatever. It's a code that's
Right.
just they can receive money. You put it on a T-shirt, put it on a billboard.
Yeah.
But BitPay is concerned because if you just have a code that you can send money to, you could send any amount of money, including a
right.
different amount than what the product costs.
Right.
And then what are they going to do? They're going to refund you. It's like they don't have a good system for that. So instead, they've come up with this. Well, they didn't come up with it. Other people came up with it. They're the only ones left, I think, who are using it, where they can give you a locked amount, locked address, like in a way that you don't actually see where you're sending the money. They kind of send it to their server type of thing. I don't personally like that system. I think it would make more sense for like a URL to include like amount fixed equals, and instead of amount, then it's just part of like the normal payment address and it's not anything fancy. But they seem to think you need this complicated solution. So we've done it, and now you can pay people who use BitPay, which is a huge number of merchants.
Yeah, so it's there, ready to go.
Do you know of any merchants that you use personally who use BitPay?
Overstock would use it.
I thought Overstock was Coinbase.
Not sure actually, but there's a few donation organizations that do use BIP70.
That's true. That's true. My web host actually uses BitPay, so
nice.
so I can now pay for my internet hosting again on that, and also my domain name registration on that.
Yeah, that's useful then.
Yeah. So I've been looking forward to it. Right now, BitPay supports Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, which we both support. So no matter what kind of way you want to pay them, we've got it.
Yep, we've got it covered.
What other cool features are in this release?
Yeah, so another one is sweeping private keys. So previously, you would be able to sweep Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. Now you can also sweep Feathercoin, Litecoin, Dash also. So another way to get your tokens.
Can I sweep Ethereum?
No, not yet.
Still working on it.
Also, we didn't get to talk about this much the previous week, but we also have Simplex in there. You can buy Bitcoins, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum with credit card.
So I actually managed to try Simplex.
Yeah.
And bought, I think it was $100 worth of Bitcoin or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long process because they need to see a bunch of identification because, it's a credit card, right? Like anybody who takes a credit card is going to need to know your name and address and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it did work seamlessly once I got through all those steps.
Right on. And they do support the major credit cards like Visa and MasterCard, but you do got to be careful with what banks. So there's articles like Wells Fargo that they can, shut down your credit card if you're trying to buy Bitcoins with it or cancel the transaction. So
I think mostly they just don't decline the transaction. I don't think they shut
down.
down.
So they don't shut it down. They just decline the transaction.
Because I know we had another person in our company try to buy coins with Simplex, and the credit card would just not go through.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I know USAA does support it. So
mostly smaller banks, credit unions, things like that are very good about that. I would say mostly it's like the bigger, too big to fail banks that tend to have more trouble with Bitcoin. So wonder why that is.
Yeah. Right on.
Let's see here. So if you buy Bitcoin with Simplex, what could you then do with it?
Yeah. So once you have Bitcoins in your account, you can hold on to it, HODL, or you can convert it to Ripple, XRP, Ripple, also known as Ripple, or Monero. We have Shapeshift built in, and you can exchange it to whatever coin you want to use.
If I were to shapeshift it to Monero, then I could use it to buy like VPN services and other,
Yeah, well, pretty anonymous.
Super private, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think between being able to buy crypto, can you also sell with Simplex, or is it just buy?
It's just buy.
Okay, so being able to buy crypto in app, being able to shapeshift it between different currencies, being
Right.
able to pay merchants now using BIP70, I feel like Edge is really becoming a full solution for using crypto in your life. If
Yeah.
there's anything you can do with crypto and you want to use it in your life, then Edge can handle it now. I feel like I feel confident that we've done it now in terms of being able to handle all those use cases.
Yeah, we just need to get banking exchanges added on there, similar to how we had it back in our Airbits wallet where you could connect a bank account. So once we get that too, it'll be a lot more fuller.
Yeah. That
So
was
definitely.
Glidera before.
Yeah, that was Glidera.
Yeah. I mean, we
Okay.
still technically have Glidera in Airbits. I don't think our partnership with them has ended. I think it's a question of doing the work needed to get them into the app. And I feel like Simplex, even though it's a longer process, is more seamless in terms of not having weird, mysterious, verification failures and things. So I'm hoping it works better and we have less support calls. You're the one who
Yeah.
deals with support.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. So
Yeah,
we'll be on
yeah.
standby. Okay, let's see what else. So yeah, try out Simplex if you want to buy Bitcoins with a credit card. Give it a try. $50 is the minimum. So yeah, give it a try. Next up, Augur just released a couple days ago.
It was sometime it was about last
just
week.
this week. Yeah.
Or this week, that's right. It was Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, July 9th. Yeah, so it was just released. So, what are your thoughts on the Augur release? You've been working a lot on that project, William.
So Augur has Edge for login. So if you have an Edge account on your phone and you download Augur's desktop app, you can actually just use Airbits or Edge. They both work to log into Augur. You scan a barcode and you're in, and then all your funds that you have in Augur will also show up in your Edge account. So you could then buy crypto with Shapeshift, buy crypto with Simplex.
Yeah.
Shapeshift it directly into Augur, and you have money there. So it's a very seamless integration in the sense that the money that's in Augur is also in Airbits.
Yeah, you'll be able to exchange into Rep and then access Augur and then participate, forecast and whatnot. And the
So we should
most
talk
serious
about
part
what
is-
is Augur used for. What is Augur?
Yeah, so it's a decentralized oracles and forecasting product. So you can do wagers, and if you hold Augur Rep tokens, if you do reporting, your users are rewarded with these Rep tokens as well.
So what you're saying is, if I want to know a future event, like what is the probability that North Korea will disarm itself or some crazy
Yeah, you
thing?
can make any
Yeah.
of those wagers.
So
right.
I could make a prediction on that market saying I think the odds are 5% that will happen.
Right.
Or maybe I'm an optimist and I say it's 50% that that'll happen.
Yeah.
And then somehow on that marketplace, all those different people making their prediction will kind of average out to, okay, it's 25% odds that this will happen or
Yeah.
whatever that is. And then if North Korea does disarm, then people who report, like you said, earn Rep tokens in payment for
Right.
their reporting of that information.
Yeah, and it's as a incentive, and for users that try to report incorrectly, then they're penalized and their Rep is diminished.
So reporting accurately gives you more Rep, and reporting inaccurately gives you less Rep.
Correct. Got it. So yeah, a brief history on Augur though. They're one of the first ICOs, if you will. They started, I think, back in 2014, and also they had their first crowd sale in 2015. So compared to what we've seen in 2017, massive amounts of ICOs. Augur's pretty old school.
So they've been at this for like 2.5 years.
Yeah, and now they're finally
They're
live.
finally live. So if it takes 2.5 years for an ICO to build an actually usable product,
Right.
do you think that an ICO that has a roadmap that says 5 months, 2 months on it? I don't know. I just don't. This,
A lot. I was reading an article like most of them fail. Like something between 50 and 80% are fraudulent ICOs. So this is an article that I read, but definitely got to be careful in which ICOs you invest. And like you're saying, it does take time for it to fully develop.
but I'm actually really happy to finally see an ICO come through the whole process and actually ship a real product.
Yeah, from beginning to end.
That is good on them, and I am super happy that we are partnered with Augur because that's what we want all our partners to do. We want all our partners who use Edge login to succeed in that way. It's really nice.
Right. Finish your product.
Yeah, finish your product, make it in the marketplace, and be successful.
Right on. Okay, let's see. So we have a couple questions from JC on Twitter. What do you predict Paul will be able to walk to the store and buy his kombucha in Bitcoin price value on the shelf instead of just the fiat value?
Which Bitcoin?
Let's just say Bitcoin for now, or Bitcoin Cash, whichever.
Or Bitcoin,
Bitcoin Gold,
Dogecoin
Diamond.
or Litecoin or what do you think? I have an idea, but I'll let you say it first.
Short answer: it's hard to predict the future, but I don't know. Hopefully, within the next couple of years to 10 years, if it becomes more mainstream, we might see items at the shelf denominated in Bitcoin. So who knows?
I would say 10 years would be an aggressive but optimistic schedule.
Okay.
Because think about how much dominance the U.S. dollar has in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, when countries like Zimbabwe had their hyperinflation, where their own national currency was completely obliterated,
Right.
they switched to dollars because dollars was what was available at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Bitcoin has to displace the dollar. So how many dollars are in circulation? How many trillions of dollars are M1 or M0 out there?
Yeah.
And then what kind of price would that imply that Bitcoin is going to have?
Right.
We're talking about $1 million per Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's more stable. Yes.
Right. At that level, at which it might begin to be as big and as dominant as the dollar.
Right.
So I hope Bitcoin's worth $1 million each one day, but I feel,
Might be a while.
I feel like it's going to be a long road to get there. And historically with the growth rate, it might get there in 5 years, but then what is that going to be enough time for the whole world to switch over its infrastructure to a new currency?
Right.
That's the main question.
Another example, though, is if you look at Twitch.tv, users can buy bits to buy emotes or cheers, right? When you buy the bits, it's not actually Bitcoin. That's just what they use, right? It's just called bits also. But when they buy the bits and the cheers, it's denominated in bits, not in dollars. So when you're buying like the cheers, it's like 1 bit, 1,000 bits, 10,000 bits. It's denominated in bits instead of the dollar amount. So
A lot of sites do that. Like airline rewards are like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's 5,000 airline rewards to get. I don't know what a 5,000 airline rewards is worth actually.
Right.
But there are so many different things that are currencies that kind of float net relative to the dollar, but are still there's kind of that exchange rate that's implied.
Yeah.
Like if I can use $5,000 airline tickets or reward points to buy a $50 gift card, then that says that a reward point is worth about 1/10 of a cent.
Right.
Or is it a cent? Yeah, a cent. I don't know. I'm not good at math. not when I'm sleep deprived.
Second question, same user, JC. Will people forever value Bitcoin's price and some inflationary failing fiat value?
So basically, that's the same question he asked at first, but asked in a different way. So when we talk about the price of Bitcoin, we think about it in dollars because that's what we think about other things in. I can buy lunch for about $5 at a cheap place, $10 at a good place.
Yeah.
Right? I think in terms of that's the price of a lunch. And then I go to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's worth $5,000 one day and $20,000 the next day. It's like, well, how many lunches per Bitcoin? I have a hard time thinking
it's hard
about.
to calculate, because it's so volatile.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have a good intuition for what a Bitcoin is worth in terms of stuff because it's always changing. So it would have to be stable enough over a long enough period of time where people can begin to think in Bitcoin, like, it costs 20 bits to eat lunch or 1 bit to eat lunch, and that's about what things are worth.
Right.
And that's a long journey.
Yeah. And it's not until maybe we see something like Venezuela or Zimbabwe, like you were saying, that happens here in the United States, maybe one day. But if we start seeing, like in Venezuela, 60 bolivars, back in 2015 for $1, and then now it's like over 3,500,000 for a single dollar.
That's a pretty bad hyperinflation they're having.
Yeah, so it's a lot of volatility there.
And I know that Bitcoin is being used in Venezuela, or maybe Bitcoin Cash more specifically. There's a charity called Eat BCH, which is trying to feed people in Venezuela, and they're funded by Bitcoin Cash.
Interesting.
So that is being used over there, but I don't see the whole country of Venezuela jumping ship onto cryptocurrency right now.
Yeah, not yet.
It's more of a niche thing. Like there's a couple charities active using the currencies, but it's not like taking over the whole country.
Right, but still slowly growing.
Yeah. So I feel like crypto would have to reach a large enough awareness where when it happens, everybody's already got a crypto wallet. So first step is everybody in the United States has a crypto wallet with some crypto in it.
Right.
Step 2 is the dollar collapses. Then everybody's already got the solution sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
But if crypto is something no one's ever heard about, then when the dollar collapses, they're going to find something else that's more readily at hand.
Yeah, and at least we're getting set up that way that the on ramping is becoming a lot easier. Definitely a lot easier than when Bitcoin first started. I mean, I remember Mt. Gox and having to do a wire transfer was like a long process to even just get Bitcoins.
Right.
But now it's a lot easier. There's ATMs everywhere. So if that were to happen, users could just go to the local Bitcoin ATM and buy Bitcoins if there was a collapse.
Yeah, so that's the fast way to do it is to have a collapse, but you still need everybody to already be on board. The slow way is to have everybody be on board, and then slowly things migrate that way because it's more efficient, and there's no collapse.
Right.
So I would say collapse is actually a bad scenario because people starve to death. Lots of horrible things happen. The whole economy grinds to a halt. You don't want a collapse. You actually want things to move in a transition that's
Slow
orderly
transition.
and smooth. Yeah.
All right, let's see. You want to pick a question there, William?
So the next question is, how do side chains work, and thoughts on drive chains? So there's actually two questions. I'm kind of connecting them into one.
Okay.
So the basic concept, and this is an advanced question that someone has asked. I don't know who asked this. It doesn't say.
Oh, probably from Bitcoin beginners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or the Reddit. Yeah, Reddit.
Okay.
Okay.
So the idea is that Bitcoin is limited in its ability to do things, to basically transferring value from one person to another, or maybe one person to multiple people, or through multi-sig, or there are very different combinations of it. But fundamentally, you're transferring value
Right.
on my initiative. I can say I want to transfer to you, and then you can say you want to transfer to someone else. There's a lot of applications people would like to build where you would like the transfer of value to happen automatically in response to conditions. So, for instance, I put some money onto a decentralized exchange. It just sits there until the price reaches my set level, at which point my money then moves to whoever bought it.
Okay.
That would be an example of like an action of moving money triggered by a change in price, not by me clicking a button say transfer now.
Yeah, or not selling, not doing a transfer. It's just
Yeah,
automatically.
it just kind of, I just put, or Augur, right? Like
Yeah.
if I use rep tokens to report on an event and that reporting is wrong, I need to be penalized.
Right.
And that penalization happens whether I want it to or not. In fact, I would not normally penalize myself, but Augur, because they can move money on users' behalf, can actually take money away just as easily as they can give it.
Right.
So there's a lot of applications that don't work on the Bitcoin network as it exists today. So people would like to build these other applications and yet still have them denominated in Bitcoin.
Got it.
So I can build something like Augur where instead of using rep, I actually use BTC as the currency.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So how do I do that on BTC? Now, in Ethereum, it's fairly straightforward. You just write a smart contract, upload it to the network, and the smart contract can do all those cool things.
Right.
But for BTC, it's harder because BTC can't do those things. So what the idea is to build another network on the side of Bitcoin. So another cryptocurrency kind of from scratch on the side of Bitcoin that has the logic built into its rule set.
Right.
So the logic of this other alt chain would be, if you've reported incorrectly, you lose funds. If you report
Yeah, the
correctly, you
same
gain.
rule set,
The same
right.
rule set, right? That you
Yes.
would put into Augur,
But
but
with
it's
Bitcoin instead.
peer-to-peer, sort of decentralized thing that's the people download and run their computers and all that stuff.
Right.
Then you need to be able to transfer Bitcoins into this system and back out. And that's what the sidechain concept is. It says
Yes.
we can build this alternate blockchain, which is a sidechain, and we can peg the value of Bitcoin into it and out of it through, I don't know how to describe it. It's a transaction type where you.
It's not atomic swaps.
It's not an atomic swap, no.
Okay.
But there's a specific kind of transaction you can perform that drive chains enable where Bitcoin gets burned.
Okay.
It gets sent to an address where it's not going to be moved again.
Yeah.
And in that burn, another Bitcoin appears inside the sidechain.
Okay.
So I've kind of transferred, by destroying the Bitcoin over here, I've created.
It creates a token over there,
here,
or
which
the
represents
Bitcoin
the.
peg token.
Yeah. So the price of creating that token over here was 1 Bitcoin over here.
Yes.
And now that it's on here, I can move it around and use it to buy and sell and interact with the chain.
Right.
To get it back, I need to kind of reconstitute the Bitcoin that I burned to get it over here in the first place.
Right.
So there's a way to, in drive chains, not actually burn it where it becomes completely unspendable, but like lock it up.
Yeah. More like locked.
Yeah, locked.
Yeah. Until you spend that side chain coin or whatnot.
Right. So I take the sidechain coin, destroy it
Yeah.
for real, and then the Bitcoin over here becomes unlocked by that result and then can now be moved around.
Yes.
The problem with drive chains is that the people who run the drive chain, the peers, the nodes, the miners, all those things that participate in that system, they have to be trusted at some level not to spend the locked Bitcoins.
Yes.
Because the locked Bitcoins are kind of held in an escrow with those people.
Yeah, like a little escrow.
Yeah. So if those people decide to move the chain, the Bitcoin without correspondingly burning things over here, the whole system falls apart.
I imagine.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of trust in there. So that's kind of one of the reasons it hasn't really taken off, is because there is that element of that.
Yeah.
But the way that drive chains deals with it is okay, the money's locked and it can't be moved no matter what anybody does for a whole month. So if those actors try to move the money before a month, people can see that and they can see what happened on the side chain, and they say, oh, these guys are cheating.
Yeah.
Kick them out, replace them, do whatever it is you need to do to restore balance to the system.
So you can see it happening, then you can actually enforce
and you have
whatever
about a
rules
month.
have
You have
in
about a
place.
month to deal with the problem.
Right.
So that's his thought, is that in a month people can probably figure out a way to fix the issue, get rid of the bad actors or whatever, and therefore keep the system running.
Interesting.
So that's kind of the idea behind a sidechain. Is you've basically built a whole other blockchain, but it has a system for transferring value back and forth with the main chain, and therefore it can use that main chain's currency in its workings. And it can do cool things that the main chain can't do.
And are we far out for that, or?
It's one of those things where people have been talking about it for a long time,
Yeah.
but no one's taken the step of actually building one that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we're not even there yet, like in terms of like building the actual side.
I think there's a project, I can't remember the name of it, but they're basically doing Ethereum smart contracts. I think they're like an Argentinian company or something like that.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of them, but I think there was a project that was building an actual bona fide sidechain.
Okay, so they're out there.
Yeah.
Just-
But I don't know of any big popular ones, and I can't remember the name of the one that I did know about a couple of years ago.
right.
Not Rootstock.
Rootstock, that's what it was. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I think Rootstock is actually a sidechain type concept.
Okay. Let's see.
So-
Oh, we can pick maybe like a beginner one.
Well, I think the other question here,
Oh, the other one that's related to it.
how does Bitcoin update itself when it's decentralized?
Yeah, so through miners, they'll do code and go through the miners and see if that gets in or not, right? In a
So
way?
you're right. The way it works is I can make changes, or the developers can make changes to Bitcoin that don't impact the way the coin works anytime they want, right? They
Yeah.
just release new versions of the software, which has a new user interface, better buttons, changes things so they're faster, more optimal, transactions flow between nodes in a better way, whatever. And you can do stuff like that without changing anything on the network, because people just download the new software, it runs faster, and everything's great.
Right.
When you need to change the rules of the network, the way money moves from person to person, then you need to have everybody on the network kind of agree to those new rules.
Yeah, and that's where you could have like a hard fork or a soft fork, right?
Right. So a soft fork is a change to the rules that is still compatible with the old rules. So maybe in the old system, I could send you money and you can send it on back to me and there's no delay, right? But I could make a rule that says I can send you money and you have to wait like a month before you can send it back to me. So that's
Okay.
more restrictive than it was before.
Right.
So the old software sees the money move to you, they see it move back to me, like, nothing went wrong, right?
Yeah.
But the new software says, you didn't wait long enough, I'm going to reject that transaction.
Right.
So you can put in restrictions that didn't exist before, so that things that were valid before are still valid, or actually not valid, but whatever you're doing now always appeared valid in the past.
Right.
I'm not sure if that makes sense.
That
So
makes
you're not
sense.
breaking anything, you're just making it tighter.
Yeah.
And if you do one of those, then you get enough people on the network running your new rule set, then it kind of becomes de facto the way things are.
It becomes a standard essentially.
Yeah, because if you get more than 51% of the people doing it and you send one of these transactions that's not compatible with the new tighter rules,
Yeah.
then that half of people will reject it. And if those half of people are miners, then your transaction's not going to get mined.
Yeah, it's not going to go through then.
Yeah. And so, and even if somebody does mine it who understands the old rules and doesn't accept the new rules, their whole block will be rejected now.
Right.
And so their blocks will be useless. They're incentivized to upgrade to the new rules because they don't want to lose money mining.
Yeah.
And it kind of forces everybody forward.
Because they want to get those transactions through because it's money for the miners.
Exactly.
So-
So by coming up with a tightening of the rules, you can actually just do it and put it out there, and it'll eventually happen.
right on.
To change the rules so they're looser, that involves actually getting everybody to agree.
Yeah. So basically, everyone has to get on board.
Yeah. But if you do that, then that gives you a lot more flexibility to make changes.
Mhm.
On the other hand, it's more risky because you have to get more buy-in before it can happen.
Right.
And what will happen is if you don't have everybody's buy-in, suppose I only have 10% of the people buying into my loosening of rules,
Mm-hmm.
and we all decide we're going to go forward with it, then we've got an altcoin.
Yeah.
Or an
a
alt
hard
chain.
fork.
A hard
different,
fork, yeah.
different coin.
It's a new coin, right?
Yeah, it just splits.
because
new
we
one.
disagreed with everyone else, and so now our thing is different.
Right.
So that is a way to do it. So if you can get 90% or 100% of the people on board, or even like 80% of the people on board, they'll probably succeed in doing a hard fork and keeping the coin in one piece.
Yeah.
But if you get some faction, whether it be large or small, that disagrees, then you split the coin in two.
And then now you have two.
And that's what happened to Ethereum. They
Yeah.
actually did a change that a lot of people disagreed with, and so it split into
Ethereum
Ethereum,
and
the big
Ethereum
one, and
Classic.
Ethereum Classic.
Yep.
And then they've done other changes that everybody pretty much agreed with, and Ethereum has just kept being Ethereum, even though it's now got different rules than before.
Right.
So that's one way you can change a network without being centralized, because it's kind of a process of not voting, but kind of it's kind of voting.
Yeah.
Actually.
If you're not voting, it is kind of voting.
It's
right?
like voting with your feet, right? Like everybody starts wandering over in a certain direction. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I should go over there with them because I benefit by being with the group.
Yeah. Being with the main group.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What about this one? Can explain the difference between tokenizing or digitizing an asset and collateralizing it.
I'm not quite sure what they mean by collateralizing an asset.
Tying it maybe, so I'm not sure who asked this question, but maybe tying it to a physical asset, maybe like that's what they mean by tokenizing an asset.
So I kind of know what tokenizing an asset means. So there's things in the world like stock certificates, right?
Mhm.
A stock certificate is a piece of paper that says, I own a share of this company,
Right.
right? So it's just a piece of paper. It's a record. It's an indication that something is true.
Yeah.
Well, I can put records onto the blockchain to record that things have happened,
Right.
right? So I can say, instead of a physical piece of paper that says you own shares in this company,
Yeah, it's just on the blockchain.
I will give you a transaction on the blockchain that says you own shares in this company.
Yeah.
And if I don't want those shares anymore, if I want to sell them, I can just do a on-chain transaction to transfer them to you.
Right.
So that digital asset, that token
Mm-hmm.
on a cryptographic network, is your stock certificate.
Yeah, it's tokenized, but then the thing is, it's still where it's up to the governments or whatnot, the regulation. Like, do they actually, recognize that? So that's like a different story.
Yeah, if I own some shares in a German company, I transfer that to you, and you're in a jurisdiction where you're not allowed to own German companies.
Mhm.
Then can the German company really listen to your vote? I don't know. That's kind
Yeah,
of
even if I show you have it on on the blockchain.
yeah,
on the
yeah.
transaction
That's a
ID.
legal question, right?
Yeah.
But fundamentally speaking, you could at least then sell it to someone else, and then they can have it, maybe in a jurisdiction where that is allowed, right?
Right.
So it does take what would be a thing that would be jurisdictional and physical and very expensive to move around. I've got to call my stockbroker or whatever,
Yeah.
and turns it into something that's cheap and easy to move around without anybody's permission.
Right.
So that's tokenization. I think collateralization, I think this is what it is. Suppose I own a house,
Mhm.
and I would like other people to be able to own the house with me. I don't want to have to put down, $100,000 or what do houses cost in San Diego? Like $500,000, right? I don't want to put down $500,000.
Yeah,
I
you want to put a smaller percentage.
I want to put 100 and you put 100 and we all buy the house together, and then I pay the other members rent.
Right.
So in that case, we have a token. We could make a token that represents ownership in the house.
Mm-hmm.
The token's value is linked to the value of the house. So the house is like collateral for the token's value.
Yeah.
And so you can transfer it around and collect rent and do all that stuff you could with the stock certificate. But instead of being the thing itself, the ownership, it's kind of representing,
Represented by the token.
another ownership. So I think that's kind of the difference is tokenization, the asset itself is the thing on the blockchain, whereas collateralization, the token represents something that's off the blockchain,
Yeah, like a physical product, whether
Right,
it's a
right.
house or whatnot.
and it derives its value from that thing.
Right.
I think that's the difference, but I'm not quite sure what is meant by that term. So,
Right on. Okay. Let's see, we're almost out of time, but let's see, maybe we can throw in one
couple
more.
simple questions?
Yeah, a couple simple ones. How do you buy Bitcoin from an ATM? Like, how do you use one?
well, depends on the ATM.
Yeah, okay.
There was one ATM I used where I went to the ATM website. They had a list of all the ones that were in the area. I think it was CoinSource.
CoinSource, okay.
And then you would go into their website and you would create an account with them.
Mhm.
So I would, you'd create your username, your password, you update some your physical address and some other information. They know who you are, basically.
Yeah, there's a little bit of KYC in there, depending on how much you're trying to buy or sell, right?
And then you can go to any of their ATMs anywhere in the world, jam in, bills,
Mhm.
and then they will send Bitcoin to the address that you gave them when you signed up.
Yeah, and typically that involves when you show them your address. Then, for example, if you're in the Edge wallet, you just show them the QR code or somehow paste the address in there.
Right. So you kind of have to have a relationship with the ATM company.
Right.
Other ATMs I've used, more like LlamaSuits, or not LlamaSuit, what is the little Skyhook machines?
Yeah, the Skyhook ATMs, the little ones.
Yeah, the little ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those ones, there's no anything. You merely walk up to the machine, put bills in, scan your barcode, and the money comes out.
Yeah, or it prints out the. I think it
Private-
prints out the private keys too, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
either one of two things will happen. One is the ATM has a camera, you show it your barcode,
Mhm.
and then it sends money to that barcode.
Yes.
The other way is the machine prints out a piece of paper with a barcode on it. You scan the barcode to get the money out,
Yeah.
which is the feature that our latest release of Edge version, I don't remember numbers, 124
Yeah.
supports.
1.2, right. Okay, and yeah, let's do one more quick one. Let's see. How do you restore a deleted wallet? So sometimes we'll have users who accidentally send Bitcoins into an address that had already been deleted. So meaning they were using this wallet, then they decided to delete that wallet, and someone sent them funds. So in Edge, you can go into the settings and actually restore that wallet. Before, you'd have to reach out and we'd have to manually restore it. So now it's a lot easier to restore a deleted wallet.
So that was for Edge. For Airbits, you still have to call. You still have to call support.
Yeah.
And an engineer will have to take a look at it.
Right.
I've restored many wallets from backups.
Yep. Okay.
What is the difference between a coin and an altcoin?
Difference, I would say, altcoin, it rides off another coin. Like in general, if we're talking about tokens, so like Ethereum coins, tokens, maybe like Golem. So they're not on their own blockchain, but Golem is using the Ethereum blockchain to, like send and receive for their tokens.
That's an interesting. I've never heard that definition before, but
Yeah.
it does kind of make sense with the way some people use it. I've always thought of it. Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I think you have like Litecoin.
And there's a lot of people who think that Bitcoin is like everything there is, right?
Right.
And so anything that's not Bitcoin is an altcoin.
Right.
That's kind of the definition. Like it's Bitcoin, and then there's altcoins. That's just how it is because Bitcoin is the original. It's the biggest and best, right? But it's almost hard to call something like Ethereum an altcoin when it's almost as big as Bitcoin, and certainly in terms of transaction volume and almost in terms of market cap.
The way I look at it is like for the coins, like if it has its own blockchain, so like EOS or Bitcoin, Litecoin, they're kind of like they have their own blockchain. Explorers where you can look it up, right?
So that's
But
like a
then-
main coin.
Yeah, so it's like its own umbrella, and then underneath that umbrella for each coin, they have different tokens underneath it, or tokens, yeah.
So I guess that would be the difference between a coin and a token.
Mhm.
But I guess some people refer to tokens
Oh,
as alt.
token, altcoin, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your definition was good.
What do you think? Bitcoin or gold or both?
Both, why not? You hold on to it. You actually have something that you're holding.
So they don't mean Bitcoin gold. They mean Bitcoin or physical gold.
Yeah, physical gold.
I don't know. Before I got involved in crypto, I was actually a silver stacker.
Yeah.
I wasn't involved in gold so much as silver, but I realized that a lot of those silver stacker people very waiting for the world to collapse and go up in flames. They were all about, like when is the dollar going to collapse and all
the metals go.
we're going to go back to
explode.
zombie apocalypse, and I'm going to
Yep.
have my guns, and I'm going to have my ammo, I'm going to have my canned food, I'm going to have my silver bars, and
Yeah.
I didn't really resonate with that. I didn't feel like that was a positive future that I wanted to see the world move to.
Yeah.
So I moved into Bitcoin and worked on and actually joined Edge like a year later. So I've been here ever since. So this is, I think, a much more positive future because we're building something awesome for the world to see, a better days versus waiting for it to collapse.
Yeah. So we can still continue instead of having a end of the world scenario.
Yeah. At the same time, I still, I still have a couple coins. I do appreciate precious metals for the physicality of it. It's a nice.
Yeah, and like the art of it sometimes.
Yeah.
Let's see. What does Bitcoin disrupt?
That could be a whole hour lecture on its
Yeah.
own.
but I would say, like, at its simplest form, just like the internet freed up information, then I would just say it's letting anyone create their own currency if they wanted to, if they know how to.
Mm-hmm. I would say, throughout the history of humankind, people have used precious metals as money.
Mhm.
They've used gold, they've used silver, and they were inconvenient to transact over long distances because you'd literally have ships full of silver in their hold, traveling across the Atlantic and hoping
Yeah.
they didn't get attacked by pirates because that was the only way to pay, across the continents.
Right.
Then we came up with money substitutes. That would be what Liebig von Mises would call them, right?
Yes.
Pieces of paper that represented the gold. So it was still silver that I was giving you, but I was giving you it in paper form so you could cash it in later.
Yeah, it's paper representation.
And with that, it became a lot more efficient to transact. And then we moved past money substitutes to fiat monies, which we have now, where it's not even a representation of silver or anything physical. It's just a number in a computer system. And you can send numbers across the internet, very easily. But it's not limited in any way. You have to trust the government. There's a lot of things about that. And so
Yeah.
what Bitcoin does and what cryptocurrencies do in general is they replace fiat, government fiat, with math fiat,
Yeah.
where now we have a stable backing. It's not related to any particular country. And so it becomes money for the world
Yeah. Digital gold.
that doesn't require trust. And I think that is an evolution along that path that we've been going down for the past 1,000 years or 2,000, 4,000 years, whatever it's been since we've invented money.
Right.
And it's just the next step in that evolution.
It's the next level.
Yeah, because now it can be sent across the internet and it's safer than government money.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So I think we're out of time here. So tune in for next week. We'll see you then.
All right.
Thank you, guys.